Hello, it's Thursday, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a little fox. Let's get into tools and materials. Let's talk about tools and materials. So, to make our little fox today, you're going to need 8 ply 100% acrylic yarn in 3 colours. So you're going to need like an orangey red, and I'm using a colour called shrimp for the body, some white for his cheeks and belly, and a little bit of dark grey or black for his ears and his little feet. You're also going to need a scrap amount of actual black and a needle to add his nose. Now, as you can see here, I've used 9mm safety eyes on this one here. I think today I'm going to be using these 15mm safety eyes. Just a quick correction to the tools and materials, I will be using 9mm safety eyes today, so the same size as what's being shown on screen at the moment. But I'm definitely using safety eyes today. And in terms of tools, I'm going to need my 3.5mm hook, some scissors. I'm going to use a big plastic needle to help me close off the back of the legs, but it's absolutely a technique that can be done with just a hook or with your regular needle if you prefer. And I do suggest having a bobby pin handy, not because it's got a specific purpose in this particular pattern, but just because marking the end of your row can really help keep you on track when you're doing patterns like this. And some stuffing. But that's it. A written version of today's pattern will be made available to my patrons and will also be available on Etsy, and I'll leave links to both in the description down below for anybody who's interested. So here is the little fox, or the larger fox that we are making today, compared to the 12 days of crochet little mini fox, and I have just doubled it and made a couple of adjustments to line the legs up and fix the face a little bit. And after the 12 days I sent out that survey, and this was the #1 most requested pattern to get a full-size version, so I thought we'd just kick the year off with it. This is just a reminder that this is a complicated knots pattern, and what that means is that while I will be showing you very carefully how to do the more complicated bits, anything that I consider to be like on the simpler side, for example like a row of single crochet, we'll probably just be skipping over a little bit. The whole pattern will be on the screen for you so that you will be able to complete the whole fox using this video. Okay, so our fox today is made all in one piece, starting from the tip of the nose and ending with the tip of the tail, but I have carved it up into chunks just to make it a little bit easier to digest. So we're going to start with the face. So grab your red, and we're going to make a magic ring. And anyone who's made the mini will know this magic ring has a color change in it. And I'm very sorry for that, but it's still just the best way to get the little fox face. So into our magic ring, we're going to work 3 single crochet, but we're going to change to our white in the 3rd stitch. So that's 1 and 2. To make the color change a little easier, I'm going to pull the magic ring not all the way shut, but just smaller, so it's closer to like the size of a chain stitch. And now we are going to work our first color change for this pattern. So this is the most difficult color change you're probably going to do all day, and I'm just really sorry that I'm doing the color change tutorial on a magic ring, but it is what it is. So to work our color change, I'm going to insert my hook into the magic ring, yarn over and pull up a loop of my old color. So I've got 2 loops of my old color on my hook. I'm then going to hold that color out of the way and grab a strand of my white. I'm going to pinch that white on the back of the work at the base of the stitch that I'm working, yarn over and pull through both of the loops on my hook. Then give the red a little bit of a tug to squish that stitch down. And what it should leave you with is a red stitch into your magic ring, but your white is now on your hook ready to go. Now you're going to need to keep holding these tails, because if you let that white go, there's a good chance it'll just like pull straight out. But to help lock that white in place, we're going to work a white single crochet into the magic ring, changing back to our red. So insert our hook into the magic ring, yarn over and pull up a loop of our white, so that we have 2 loops of white on our hook. Hold it out of the way, and I'm just going to grab the red from where it's still attached and pull it forward, pinch it at the base of the stitch, yarn over and pull through both of my white loops. Tug on the white to scooch that stitch down, leaving you with a white single crochet with your red now on your hook ready to go. So I'm sorry about the double color change there. I'm now going to pull on my red tail, not the white tail, the red tail, to finish closing off that magic ring, leaving you with this perfect little magic ring of 4 stitches, 3 of which are red and 1 of which is white, but the red is back on our hook. I swear that has to be the hardest row in this whole pattern, so if you got through it, congratulations. The rest of this should be pretty simple. We have so many tails, but you can't really trim any of them off. You can shorten these 2 if you'd like. I do encourage you to tie them together if you are going to trim them off, just because it will help nothing unravel later. There we go. So now we can shorten those if we would like. And we're ready for row 2. So row 2 starts with 3 increases in our red. Because this is a very tight little magic ring, don't be alarmed if you can only get your hook through the front loop only of the first stitch. That's fine. That's one increase. Two increases, and in this third increase we're changing back to our white. So to work a color change in an increase, you just work the first single crochet as normal, and then in the second single crochet you change back to your white. So there are a lot of color changes in this particular pattern, like multiple per row, just because there's a lot of red and white. So it's going to be completely up to you whether or not you choose to carry your yarn under your work, or if you choose just to like grab it and pull it across. Now I tend to be someone who prefers to just like pull it across from wherever I left it last, but it won't make a huge difference if you prefer to carry it under instead. So with our white on our hook, we are going to work an increase into the white stitch, changing back to our red. There we go. And our row should be up to 8 stitches. And at this point, I am going to start marking the final stitch in my round. That's just going to help me know that I've definitely used every stitch as we go. In row 3, we're going to start with 6 red single crochet, changing to our white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the 6th. And then 2 white single crochet. 1 and 2. Row 4 is then 1 white single crochet, changing back to our red. 5 single crochet in our red, changing back to our white. It's 2, 3, 4, this is number 5, and 2 white single crochet back to the start of our round. 1 and 2. Okay, we have accomplished a little snoot. Row 5 starts with 2 single crochet, 1 and 2, and then all into the same stitch we're going to work 3 white single crochet, changing to our red. 1, 2, 3, and then into the same stitch we're going to work 1 red single crochet. So that's 4 stitches all into the same stitch. 3 of them are white and 1 of them is red. In the next stitch of our round we're going to work 3 single crochet all into the same stitch. 1, 2, and 3, and then again all into the same stitch we're going to work 1 red single crochet, changing to our white, and then 3 white single crochet into that same stitch. 1, 2, and 3. So there should be 3 stitches left in your round, 2 white ones and a red one, and we're going to work 3 single crochet across them. So 1, 2, and 3. My yarn is splitting a little bit. Hopefully that won't become too much of an issue as we go on. This is what we currently look like. And that's the underjaw. It's got a little bit of a wiggle to it. And that's the back. Okay, so we're heading into row 3 now. We're going to start with 3 single crochet. 1, 2, 3. Then 4 single crochet all into the same stitch, changing to our red in the 4th stitch. 1, 2, 3, and this is the 4th. Then in our red we're going to work a single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same stitch, 1, 2, 3, a single crochet, an increase, a single crochet, and then 3 single crochet into the same stitch, 1, 2, 3, and then into the next white stitch of our round we are going to work a single crochet, changing back to our white. With our white back on our hook we're just going to work 4 single crochet into the same stitch, and then 4 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1, 2, 3, and 4, bringing us to the end of row 6. And at this point you should have 27 stitches in your round. And I do strongly encourage the use of a stitch marker just to make sure that you are working in every stitch and not gaining or losing any. Row 7 starts with 4 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then 5 single crochet into the same stitch, changing back to our red in the 5th one. 1, 2, 3. So that's 4, and this is our 5th one. So in our red, we're going to work 4 single crochet, and the first 2 of those fall into white stitches, 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4. 3 single crochet into the same stitch, 1, 2, and 3. 6 single crochet across the forehead, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you should have 3 red stitches left. We're going to work 3 single crochet into the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, and then 4 single crochet changing back to our white. And the first 2 of those will fall into red stitches. 1, 2, and then the next 2 will fall into white stitches. 3, and 4 is the color change. In our white, we're going to work 5 single crochet into the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then 5 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So at the end of row 7, we should have 39 stitches in our round, and I just want you to see that mine is being very wiggly and weird. It's a little bit of a trust the process kind of moment. This will end up out where it's supposed to be, but for now it's kind of wanting to like crumple in on itself a little bit. And row 8 is the final round of the face, and it starts with 8 single crochet changing to our red. 1, 2, 3, and 8. 22 single crochet in our red, changing back to our white, and the first one of those does fall into a white stitch. 1, 2, 3, 19, 20. So 21 falls into the last red stitch, and 22, which is our color change, falls into the first white stitch. And then in our white, it is just 9 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1, 2, 3, 8, and 9. So that brings us to the end of the face. Again, it's still very wiggly. In particular, the forehead is trying to like fold forward and meet the mouth like a little duck. Wah, wah. So that is the forehead. And at this point, I would really love it if you would stop and double check that you definitely have 39 stitches in your round. That 17 should be white and 22 should be red. And with that, we're going to move on into this. I'm calling this the ears section, but it's technically like the ears and the sort of the back of the head. So carrying on, we're going to start with 8 single crochet, changing to our red. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, and this is 8. In our red, we're going to work 7 single crochet, changing back to our white. 1, 2, 5, 6, and this is 7. Then we're going to build our first little ear, or the base of our first little ear anyway. So working into the back loop only. So if you look down at your stitch, you should be able to see that it has a front loop and a back loop. So that's a loop on the side facing you and a loop on the side facing the way. So in our white, we're going to work into the back loop only, and we're going to put 5 single crochet all into that back loop, changing back to our red in the 5th stitch. So that's a lot of instructions, but it's pretty basic if we just sort of step through it. So we'll start by putting 4 white single crochet into that same back loop. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then a 5th one, again, into the same loop, changing back to our red. Like so. Then it's 7 red single crochet across the top of the head, changing back to our white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is 7. So once again, working into the back loop only, we're going to put 5 single crochet into the same stitch, changing back to our red in the 5th stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is 5. 2 little ears. With our red back on our hook, it's then 7 single crochet, changing back to our white. And then in our white, 8 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1, 2, 3, 7, and 8. Okay, so we're at the end of row 9. We have located our ears, and they should appear roughly evenly in the space we have around the top of that head. On to row 10. So row 10 starts with 2 increases. 1, 2, then 3 single crochet, changing to our red. 1, 2, and 3. Then a single crochet. And next we're going to work a stitch called a single crochet 3 together. So there are 2 main ways you can work these. There is a standard way and there is an invisible way. So I'm going to show you the standard way first. And all you do is insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, insert your hook into the second stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, then insert your hook into a third stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. So it's basically just a decrease over 3 stitches instead of 2. Yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on your hook. That is a perfectly serviceable little standard single crochet 3 together. Now I do have a soft spot for the invisible method, which is just where you pick up the front loops only of the 3 stitches you're decreasing over. You yarn over and you pull up a loop through all 3. So you've just got 2 loops left on your hook. And you yarn over and pull through both of those loops. And that is also a single crochet 3 together. So use whichever method makes you happy or is achievable for you. Then continuing on in our red, we're going to work 6 single crochet, changing to our white. 1, 2, 5, and this is 6. Once again, we're working on our ear. We need to just build it up a little bit more. So in our white, we're going to work 2 single crochet, 1 and 2, 5 single crochet all into the same stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then 2 single crochet down the side, changing back to our red. 1, and this is 2. In our red, we're going to work a decrease, 3 single crochet, 1, 2, and 3. Then another decrease, changing back to our white. And you can change colors using pretty much any stitch. It's just that final yarn over and pull through, you change to your new color. In our white, we're going to work 2 single crochet, 1 and 2, 5 single crochet into the same stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then 2 single crochet, changing back to our red. 1 and 2. In our red, we're going to work 6 single crochet, a single crochet 3 together, and then a single crochet, changing back to our white. Then it's just 5 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's just a little check-in at the end of row 10. Row 11 starts with 2 repeats of a single crochet and then an increase. So that's 1, and we're going to do that again. Single crochet, increase. Then it's 2 single crochet, changing to our red. 1 and 2, a single crochet, 3 together, which we're really just using to enhance those cheeks at this point. 3 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease, changing to our grey this time. So I'm using a dark charcoal grey, as you would have seen at the start. You can also just use your black for this. It does work out fine. I use grey on camera because it helps you see it a little bit more. If I'm stitching in black, sometimes the stitches are a little bit hard for you all to see. So I'm just changing to that the same way that I changed to white earlier. And in our grey, we are going to work a decrease, 3 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, then a picot. So all a picot is you chain 3, and I pull chains 2 and 3 quite tight, then work a slip stitch into the first chain that you worked. It's just going to give you a little like pointy nub for the tip of the ear. Then 2 more single crochet, 1 and 2, and a decrease, changing back to our red. Just like that, we're juggling 3 colours in our little fox. We're going to work 5 single crochet across, changing back to our grey. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is 5. And then a decrease, 2 single crochet, 1 and 2, a picot. And at this point I would just like to add that the picots are not adding to the stitch count of your round, and we will not be working into them. They are simply a decorative stitch. So if you're going to have a hard time identifying the single crochets on either side of your picots in the next round, now's a great time to whip out some more stitch markers or a scrap piece of yarn and just mark those single crochets so you can find them more easily. Then 3 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, and a final decrease, changing back to our red. And note that all of the grey stitches for both ears fall into white stitches only. So if you're overlapping into the red, something has gone wrong. The colour changes can be a little bit of a pain, but they do sometimes make finding problems that little bit easier. They also cause more problems, so I guess it balances out. With our red back on our hook, we're going to work a decrease, 3 single crochet, a single crochet, 3 together, and a single crochet, changing back to our white. Then it's 3 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, and an increase to get us back to the start of our round. All better. So there we are at the end of row 11, and you should have 44 stitches in your round, and those lumps are starting to fall a little bit more where we want them to. So instead of just being like chaotic wibble wobbles, we've got a bit of a forehead lump and 2 little cheek lumps. And you've got his ears, so guys, be careful, he can hear you now. So row 12 starts once again with 2 repeats of a single crochet and then an increase. So that's 1, and we're going to do it again. Single crochet and increase. And then a single crochet to change to our red. In our red, we're going to work 3 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, and yep, they all fell into white stitches. Then a single crochet, 3 together, a single crochet, and then a decrease, changing back to our grey. In our grey, we're going to work a decrease, a single crochet. And then we have 2 more decreases. So the next decrease falls behind that little picot. And even I'm going to use just a standard decrease for this particular stitch. So all I'm going to do is insert my hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, insert my hook into the first single crochet on the other side of the picot, yarn over and pull up a loop, tuck the picot to the front of the hook. So you can see my 3 loops there, and complete my decrease behind it, like so. And the second decrease we use to change back to our red. Like so. In our red, we're going to work 5 single crochet across the top of the head, changing back to our grey. And we're going to close off the top of the second ear. So we're going to start with 2 decreases. So that's 1. And the second one is once again falling behind that picot. Tuck it to the front, finish it off. Then a single crochet and a decrease, changing back to our red. I'll show you the inside of my work in a second, just so that you don't feel so alone. In our red, we are going to work a decrease, a single crochet, a single crochet 3 together, two single crochet, changing back to our white. This is 2. And then 2 single crochet and an increase to get us back to the start of our round. 1 and... So that's what the inside of my fox looks like. He's got complicated webs of thoughts. He's working stuff out. That's just what happens when you pull the yarn across. Note that none of them are particularly tight. In fact, some of them are looser than they need to be. That's just so you don't end up with like any like puckers inside your wool where something's been like pinched too closely together. And of course, carrying under is also a legitimate technique. So is cutting off and reattaching if you want to do it that way. So there we are at the end of row 12. We have 2 more rows left in this head section. Row 7 starts with 7 single crochet, changing to our red. 2, 3, 6, and this is 7. Then 6 single crochet, changing to our grey. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is 6. 4 single crochet, changing back to our red. 1, 2, 3, and 4. In our red, we're going to work an increase, 3 single crochet, 1, 2, and 3, and then another increase, changing back to our grey, 4 single crochet, changing back to our red, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 6 red single crochet, changing back to our white, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't panic, the 6th one falls into a white stitch. And then 3 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1, 2, and 3. Then row 14 is 6 single crochet, changing to our red. 6 single crochet in our red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then still in our red, we're going to work an increase, 2 decreases. Each one of those should use up 2 of the grey stitches. Then 7 single crochet, 1, 2, 6, 7, 2 decreases, 1 and 2, another increase, 6 single crochet, changing back to our white, 3, 4, 5, and again the 6th falls into a white stitch, and 2 single crochet back to the start of our round. Very good. That brings us to the end of this like ears/head section, and we're a little deflated, but that's exactly what we are supposed to look like at this point. So at this point we are allowed to trim off our grey/black and detangle ourselves there. We will not be needing this colour again until we make the little feet, and we'll just untangle these two because we still need plenty of white and plenty of red. And at this point I'm also going to stop and just first of all just pinch my ears. So pinch the back of the ear and the front of the ear together, kind of pop them into shape a little bit more. And we're going to put our eyes in. Now your eyes just need to be inserted anywhere along this line between the red and the white. I like to put mine right at the base of the snout. Gives him a funny little face, but gives him a funny little face, you know? It's lovable, it's cute, it's endearing. So right there at the base of the snout. I'm going to snap the backs onto those, and I'm just going to pop the backs on. And I've long since given up getting pop sounds out of these. Oh man, you know, it was kind of a sad little click, but it was I could hear it. There we go. And now he can see and hear us. He is becoming aware. You can tell he's having lots of thoughts. Cool. All right, so we're now heading into the front leg section. So row 15 starts with 5 single crochet, changing to our red. 2, 3, 4, and this is 5. And you should have 1 white stitch left before your red ones. And this is going to be where we start the first front leg. So it should be roughly even with where we just put that eye in, but basically it should be falling to one side of the chest. And I'm going to work 5 single crochet all into the same stitch. That's right. We are using the exact same building mechanism on the big one that we used on the little one. It just happens over more rows to make it bigger. That's 5. Then 6 single crochet up the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 2 repeats of a decrease, and then a single crochet. That's 1. We're going to do that again. Decrease, and single crochet, then a single crochet 3 together, and 2 repeats of a single crochet and a decrease. That's 1, single crochet, and decrease, and that's 2. Then 7 single crochet down the side. 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7. That should leave you with just 1 white stitch left in your round, or 1 stitch left in your round, and it happens to be white. And into that stitch we're going to work 5 single crochet into the same stitch, changing back to our white, because that is where our second leg is going to go. That's 2. That's 3. That's 4, and this is 5, and thus our color change. So now you can see where his little fiendish paddlers are going to go. So row 16 starts with 5 single crochet, changing to our red. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In our red, we're going to work 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. 5 single crochet all into the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 8 single crochet up the side. 1, 2, 3, 7, and 8. A decrease, a single crochet, a single crochet 3 together, another single crochet, and another decrease, 9 single crochet down the other side, 2, 3, 7, 8, and 9. 5 single crochet all into the same stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And be careful that those 5 stitches into the same stitch aren't gobbling up the stitch next to them as well. You should have 2 red stitches left in your round. And we're going to work a single crochet into each of them, changing back to our white in the second one. Yeah, so the 5 stitches into the 1 stitch becomes kind of an issue if you're not paying attention to the stitches on either side of it. If you're finding that your row count start getting a little bit funky after this point, try popping a stitch marker in either side of where you're working these massive increases, just to help you find those stitches a little easier. Row 17 once again starts with 5 single crochet, changing to our red. Then 4 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 5 single crochet all into the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 7 single crochet. 1, 2, 6, and 7. 2 decreases. 1 and 2. A single crochet, 3 together. 2 more decreases. 1 and 2. 8 single crochet down the side. 1, 2, 6, 7, and 8. So you should be able to still see 5 red stitches before the end of your row. We're going to work 5 single crochet all into the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then it's 4 single crochet back to the start of our round, changing back to our white. 1, 2, 3, and this is 4. Okay, so he currently looks a little bit like a little airplane. But if you fold each of those like triangle bits in half and point them down, you'll get the idea of what we're doing here. And in the next row, we're actually going to build his little feet because we are finally at the ends of the legs. So row 18 starts with 5 single crochet, changing to our red. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In our red, we are working 6 single crochet. 1, 2, 5, and 6, bringing us to like the apex of the leg. And all into the same stitch, we're going to work 1 red stitch, changing to our grey. 3 grey stitches, changing back to our red. And 1 final red stitch, all into that same stitch. So into that stitch, we've worked 5 stitches in total, 1 red, 3 grey, and then another red. Continuing up the side of the leg now, we're going to work 24 single crochet around. 1, 2, 3, 22, 23, and 24. So that brings us all the way down to the apex of the second foot. And then once again, all into the same stitch, we are going to work a red single crochet, changing to our grey. 3 grey stitches, changing back to our red. 1, 2, 3, and a red single crochet, meaning that we've worked 5 single crochet all into that same stitch, 1 red, 3 grey, and then a second red. It is then just 6 single crochet back to the start of our round, changing back to our white in the 6th stitch. I feel like I almost have to shout to be heard over the hook squeaking right now, but it's summer, what do you want? Oh, nope, not yet. It's 5 and this is 6. And at this point, I'm going to trim off my grey again because we won't need it now until we do the back feet. In row 19, we're going to start with 5 single crochet, changing to our red. That's 2, that's 3, 4, and 5. And with our red on our hook, we're going to skip 17 stitches. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 red, 3 grey, and then 7 more red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's the 18th stitch from your hook is the next one we're going to work into. And you kind of fold it over so that it's like right next to where we're currently attached, which will create this little like pocket or fold on the outside of the work. And we're going to work 4 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then an increase, 2 single crochet, another increase, and then 4 single crochet, changing to white. 1, 2, 3, and this is 4. And this is going to feel wrong, and that's all right. So the next instruction we have in this row is just skip 17 stitches, which brings us to the end of the row. So that is 7 red stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3 grey stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then 7 more red, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So this little white stitch over here is the next stitch we're going to be working into, but at this point we are at the end of the row. So row 20 starts with 5 single crochet across, changing to our red. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then 14 single crochet around. 1, 2, 3, 12, 13, and 14. Leaving us with just 19 stitches in our round, and we are at the end of row 20, meaning we have finished these front legs. And he is still looking kind of floppy and weird looking, but he should have the vague notion of being a fox at this point. The legs should be front and centered, the nose should be pointy and attentive. So now we're heading into a section I've loosely dubbed the body, and it's basically just a couple of rows that we're doing before we have to start working on the back legs. So row 21 is a red single crochet, changing to our white. 5 single crochet, changing to our red. 1, 5 single crochet, an increase, a single crochet, and an increase, and then 5 single crochet back to the start of our round. 4 and 5. So please note that the white stitches in that round did fall sort of like 1 stitch to the left of where you might have been expecting them to fall, meaning that the first stitch of our round is now a red one. Row 22 is a single crochet, changing to our white. 2 repeats of a single crochet and then an increase. So that's 1 single crochet and then increase. That's 2. Then a single crochet, changing back to our red. In our red, we're working 6 single crochet. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. An increase. 2 single crochet. Another increase. And then 5 single crochet back to the start of our round. Row 23 starts with 2 single crochet, changing to our white. 6 single crochet, changing back to our red. And then 17 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1, 2, 3, 15, 16, and 17. And row 24 is 2 single crochet, changing to our white, 7 single crochet, changing back to our red, and then 16 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1, 2, 3, 14, 15, and 16. And I hope you enjoyed that little vacation away from more complex shaping stuff, because we're about to start forming the back legs. Okay, so this is what we look like. That's my belly patch underneath those 2 front legs. And he's got quite a swoosh to his little belly and his little booty. It's one of the few changes that I actually made to the shaping on this little guy, other than just straightening him out in general, is that I just thought his body needed a little bit less tube and a little bit more peanut. And I'm pleased with the change personally. He just perches so cutely on top of his mama's head. Look at this. You're adorable. You both are. Okay, so heading into the back leg section, we're going to start by working 3 single crochet. 1, 2, 3. And this next bit's gonna feel weird, but we're gonna start our back leg here. Any further out the side here, and the drift just kind of takes it and carries it further up the flank as we go. So we kind of start a little bit over directed to the underneath. And we're going to put 5 single crochet all into the same stitch, changing back to our white. 3, 4, this is 5. Then in our white, we are still going to be working 5 single crochet across, changing back to our red. 2, 3, 4, and this is 5. Then with our red back on our hook, we're going to put 5 single crochet all into the same stitch. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so just a word on this, because I understand that drift is definitely a problem and we're all building things in a continuous spiral first of all, and then all in one piece as well. So that's where my front legs are lining up, and my back legs aren't necessarily directly behind them. They're actually slightly off to one side. If I pull this guy in here, you'll see that the end product is them being lined up because they kind of slant a little bit this way. So you can see that I've got the base of them here, and they end up lining up back here. Now, I know this is kind of a painful thing to suggest, because normally we can fix things before they're a problem in terms of lining things up. In this one here, you might have to let a problem happen before you try and fix it. But should you need to straighten your legs out, this is the row you come back to, row 25. And the stitches that you can most easily adjust are those 3 stitches at the start of the row. So you can remove all 3 of them if you need to adjust the positioning of these legs. But once you work the first 5 single crochet into the same stitch, follow the row as written and just let it establish a new starting point for your round. Now, all of that information is just for people who are impacted by drift or are finding that their back legs aren't misaligned. I find that the majority of people are usually okay to just follow the pattern as written. It's just, that's a note for people working with different tensions, different yarns, different hooks. It's just sometimes it's good to have a little check-in point like this, just to make sure that the legs end up under your fox. So to carry on with row 25, I'm going to work 15 single crochet around to the start of our row. 1, 2, 3, 13, 14, and 15. In row 26, we're going to work 5 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then 5 single crochet all into the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 2 single crochet, changing back to our white. 5 single crochet, changing back to our red. Then it's 2 more single crochet, 1 and 2, 5 single crochet all into the same stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then 17 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1, 2, 3, 15, 16, and 17. Row 27 starts with 7 single crochet. 1, 2, 5, 6, and 7. Then 5 single crochet all into the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is 5. And then 4 single crochet, changing back to our white. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 5 single crochet across the belly, changing back to our red. Then 4 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 5 single crochet all into the same stitch. And then 19 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1, 2, 17, 18, and 19. Your round should currently have 49 stitches in it. And he's once again emerging from the Dorito dimension. Very triangular, but again, if you fold these legs, you should get a much better idea of what they're actually going to look like. And see how even though they sort of swing slightly out because we started overcorrected, they're underneath him doing what they are supposed to do. Okay, so in row 28, we are going to form his little paws. So we're going to start by working 9 single crochet. 1, 2, 7, 8, and 9. Then all into the same stitch, exactly the same way we did for the front paws. We're going to work 1 red single crochet, changing to our grey, 3 grey single crochet, 1, 2, changing to our red, and then 1 more red single crochet into the same stitch. So all into the same stitch, we worked 5 single crochet, 1 red, 3 grey, and then another red. Carrying on, we're going to work 6 red single crochet, changing to our white, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is 6. 5 white single crochet, changing back to our red, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then 6 more single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the final paw. So it's all into the same stitch. 1 red single crochet, changing to our grey. 3 grey single crochet, changing back to our red. 1, 2, 3, and 1 final red single crochet into the same stitch. So for the last time, we have worked 5 single crochet all into the same stitch, 1 red, 3 grey, and then a second red. Then it is just 21 single crochet back to the start of the round. 1, 2, 3, 19, 20, and 21. So I'm going to trim off my grey and we are done with it for this pattern. So in row 29, we're going to start by working 3 single crochet, changing to our white. 1, 2, and this is 3. And I know that feels wrong, but I think you know the drill by now. And next we're going to skip 17 stitches. So that is 7 red, 3 grey, and then 7 more red. So the next stitch we're going to work into is actually the first stitch of the belly here. And we're going to work 5 single crochet, changing back to our red. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is 5. And then skip 17 more stitches. So once again, that's 7 red, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3 grey, and 7 more red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's the 18th stitch from our hook is the next one we're going to work into. And we're going to work 4 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 3 repeats of a single crochet and a decrease. So that's 1 single crochet and decrease. That's 2 single crochet and decrease. And that's 3. It's then just 2 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1 and 2. And we're actually done with the color changes regarding white. We still need it for the tip of the tail, but you can trim it off for now and work the next couple of rows a little less encumbered. It's like I do like the way color changes can turn out, but I find working with multiple strands really annoying. Maybe it's just me. So row 30 starts with 2 single crochet, 1 and 2, then a single crochet 3 together, a regular decrease, and another single crochet 3 together, 1, 2, 3, 2 single crochet, 1 and 2, another single crochet 3 together, a decrease, and a final single crochet 3 together. And that brings our round down to just 10 stitches. And at this point we're going to stop and we're going to stuff the whole wee beastie. So we're going to tear our stuffing into small little puffs so that we don't end up with too many lumps or bumps. And it means that we can get them into all these little nooks and crannies that we've just spent the last, hour or so lovingly crafting. If you just shove huge handfuls in there all at the same time, you kind of obliterate some of that shaping sometimes. There's my nice pile of like foxy playtime, I guess. And I'm going to start by getting some into the tip of the nose and into both cheeks. And you can also use these sneaky little side access panels as well, if that helps get the stuffing where it needs to go. Okay, that's the nose done. 1 cheek. 2 cheeks. I'm not really stuffing the ears. We want them to sit relatively flat compared to everything else. Some stuffing will like slowly creep into there, but it doesn't need to be deliberately stuffed. Get the top of the head though. So just the rest of the head in general. And I do think that this little guy will eat up way more stuffing than you're probably expecting. I know it's way more than I ever expect. There you go, little guy, sorry. Pinch to shape the ears. Okay, cool. Then it's just about the chest. There we are. We're not really trying to sneak any stuffing into the legs. You can kind of do that during like the assembly part where we close them off. But in general, I tend to leave mine empty. Excuse me, sir. Then up into this curve of the back. And this really is kind of the last chance you'll have to get stuffing into this main like body section. So I do suggest that you go all the way up to the opening because we're about to close off to the narrowest point before we flare out into the tail. That said, you do technically have the option of sneaking some in through the legs. There's my little guy. Do you have a hollow point where I don't want you to have a hollow point? That's what I mean about sneaking some up through the legs. Okay, there's my sweet little foxy. So heading into row 31, we're going to work 4 decreases. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then 2 single crochet to the start of our round. 1 and 2. So our opening is now 6 stitches around, and row 32 is just 6 single crochet. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There we go. So now all we have left to do is the tail. And what a tail it is. So we're just going to head straight into it and get this done. Row 32 starts with 2 repeats of 2 single crochet. And an increase. That's 1. And we're going to do that again. 2 single crochet and an increase. Bringing our round up to 8. Row 33 is 2 repeats of 3 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and an increase. So that's 1. We're going to do it again. 3 single crochet and an increase. Row 34 is 2 repeats of 4 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and an increase. 1. There we go. So that's 1 repeat. We're going to do it again. 4 single crochet and an increase. Row 35 is 2 repeats of 5 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then an increase. That's 1. We're going to do it again. Bring us up to 14 stitches around. Row 36 is 2 repeats of 6 single crochet. 3, 4, 5, 6, and an increase. There's 1. We're going to do it again to bring us up to 16 stitches around. And finally, row 37 is 2 repeats of 7 single crochet. 1, 2, 6, 7, and an increase. So that's 1, and we're going to do that again to bring us up to 18 stitches in our round. There we go. In row 38, it's our final row in our red, and we're going to work 18 single crochet around, changing to our white in the 18th stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 16, so that's 17, and in this last stitch we're changing to our white. So for this next row I am introducing a new stitch. It's called the spike stitch, and it's just going to give us this little like zigzagginess to the tip of the tail. You can absolutely just work this row as 18 single crochet around if you prefer, but I'm just going to show you how to get this little decorative detail now. So we do that by working 9 repeats of first a single crochet and then something called a spike stitch. So all a spike stitch is instead of working through the loops at the top of the stitch, you work through the loops at the bottom of the stitch. So that's the loops at the top of the stitch. If I follow that stitch down, that's the loops at the bottom of the stitch. Yarn over and pull up a loop over the top of the whole stitch and complete it. So you then skip the loops at the top of the stitch, they're replaced entirely. So that is our first spike stitch. And we need to repeat those 2 stitches 9 times in total. So single crochet, spike stitch, single crochet, spike stitch, until we have made our whole way around the tail. Single crochet and 1 last spike stitch. There we go. So you should still have 18 stitches in your round. It's just we've given them a little bit of a zigzaggy edge. At this point we can trim off our red. So now just to finish off the tip of this tail, row 40 is 3 repeats of 4 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a decrease. So there's our first one. We're going to do that 2 more times around to bring us down to 15 stitches. Row 41 is 3 repeats of 3 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. So there's our first one. We're going to do that 2 more times around to bring our row down to 12 stitches. 3, decrease. Row 42 is 3 repeats of 2 single crochet and then a decrease. So there's 1, and we need to do that 2 more times. 2 single crochet and decrease, 2 single crochet and decrease. So the row is down to 9 stitches at this point, so I suggest you stop and stuff your tail. Try and make sure you get stuffing all the way down into the base of the tail as well. There we go. Last 2 rows. Row 43 is 3 repeats of a single crochet and then a decrease. That's 1. Single crochet and then a decrease. single crochet, and then a decrease. So that brings our round down to 6 stitches. And then our final round is just 6 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and finish off. So we still have a little opening at the end here. I'm just going to take my remaining yarn tail and pull it through the front loops only of each of those remaining 6 stitches. So that's 2, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, and pull it tight to close and tuck that end down away inside the tail. So that is the bulk of our little fox all done. And so this is where the basically comes in of the no-sew, where we do still have to close off the openings on the backs of these legs. This is a technique that can be done with a hook or a needle, whichever's easiest for you. So I'm going to do one with my needle, and then I'll show you how I do it with my hook as well, because all 4 legs are closed off the same way. So just threading my needle and looking down at each of these legs. What we have here is an opening with stitches around it, yeah? And basically it consists of 7 red stitches, then 3 grey stitches, and then 7 more red stitches. And what I want you to do is flatten it so that the little foot sits at the end and that you can find 7 pairs of red stitches across the gap. I'm going to just take my yarn here. I'm going to attach it with a little knot or a little locking stitch at the base of the leg. And then making sure I'm identifying those pairs of stitches, working the needle back towards myself. I'm going to pick up the front loop of the top stitch and the front loop of the bottom stitch. And what that means is just it's the loops on the outside of the leg. Pulling my needle down towards myself, work a little stitch. Then again, working back to the top, front loop and front loop of the next pair. So always working in the same direction. Always working in pairs of front loops. You just basically lace it up kind of like a little shoelace. I'm going to do that for all 7 pairs of red stitches here. And I'm going to leave the grey stitches alone. They form a little foot. We like it like that. So this last one's a little bit more of a twist. So I'm going to do just the top loop first, and then I'll grab the bottom loop separately. Then I'm here at the end of the foot. We've sewn up the back of the leg. You can give it a little bit of a pull if your stitches are a little loose, but you should end up with a really nice clean seam back there. And then it's just down through the leg and out into the body. So there is our first little leg sewn together. I'm just going to bring this across here now, and I'm going to do the same thing with my hook, just to kind of show it can be done if you don't have a needle available to you. So with my hook, it's almost, instead of working the needle back towards me, I'm working my hook away from myself. So what I do is I start, again, flattening the leg out, making sure the 3 little grey stitches are at the end, and I can find 7 pairs of red stitches down the length. Then I'm going to insert my hook through the front loop on the bottom stitch, and then the front loop of the top stitch, then grabbing the strand that I'm using to close it off, pull it down towards myself through both of those front loops, toss it back to the top. Next pairing, front loop, and then front loop. Grab it with my hook, pull it back towards myself, back to the top. I'm just going to do that the whole way down, all 7 pairs of stitches. And by lining up your pairs of stitches as well, you'll make sure that your leg comes out straight instead of swinging to one side. It's actually kind of a fun technique, even if you don't like sewing, because you're really just weaving the opening shut. Okay, there we go. This is the last pair of stitches. So I work my hook down the leg from the top to the bottom. So I'm out where the little foot is. I grab my strand of yarn and I pull it down and out into the body. So there we go. That is 2 little legs closed off. And you'll see you'll get the same kind of seam, whichever method you choose. And I'm going to just do the same thing to the front legs now. So while I sew those shut, I just want to mention that if you enjoyed this form of construction, I actually have a number of patterns that use it now. I became kind of mildly obsessed when I worked it out last year. So I have a little raccoon pattern, and I also have a jumbo raccoon pattern that use it. I have a skunk and a ferret that also both use it. And I have, let's see, I also have a shark that does it. And I recently did the 12 Days of Crochet, which was a series of mini patterns, which is where this little guy is from, that all basically use this same construction method as well. And it's all just about building things all in one piece. So they're not no-sew, because as you see, I'm sitting here sewing it technically, but there's no like working out where to position pieces. There's no having to join things in the round. It's just about taking a piece of string and building a shape with it. So yeah, I will maybe create a playlist and link it at the end of this video if you're interested in, or like if you enjoyed this form of construction, because yeah, I've got a few that use it now. And there'll probably be way more before the end of this year because it's so convenient not to have to sew pieces on. There we go, last one. So those are all 4 legs finished off, and the last thing we need to do is just add a little nose using an actual needle this time, sorry folks. And I'm just going to find my starting magic ring and find the orange stitch on the opposite side to the white stitch we did, and I'm going to stitch over the top of it a couple of times to create a little black snoot. There we go, and trim that off. And there is the most requested full-sized pattern from the 12 Days of Crochet, where we started and where we ended up. So I hope you had fun making him today. Okay, so there is our finished fox, and I hope you had fun making him with me today. Okay, bye! Now, just as a note to my patrons, while this dignified creature is where we ended up, that's not actually what the first draft looked like. This absolute derp of a creature who's, yes, his leg is cocked up in the air while he looks at you with that facial expression. That is what's happening here. That's what happened the first, during my first attempt of doubling this little guy. So after showing him on stream the other day, it was requested that I include those notes to the patrons. So yeah, the patrons will be getting both the actual proper dignified version as well as this crooked little derpy fellow. Yeah. Just because I don't know, every so often I just create something that's a little bit bigger than just a crochet pattern. And I think this is my guy. What a blessing for the start of the year he is. So yeah, patrons can look forward to seeing him too. Otherwise, I think this is good. Okay. Sorry, I'm laughing because I know what the first draft looked like. You are very cute. Am I sure I want to give you bigger eyes? Oh my gosh. Oh no, I'm an evil person. Loop, 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 loop. Okay, and we'll just unravel ourselves here. Spin. 3 single crochet into the same stitch. 1. Oh, wait, nope. That should leave you with 2 white stitches before our red. Oh, whoops. But, ooh, I should do hand puppets this year. That'd be fun. Quack, 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 quack. That is a very interesting shape. Anyway, I'm focused. I wonder if you stack the other way. You do not. And I'm a little tangled. Not a little teapot, I'm a little tangled. Keeping in mind that a fox is, I believe they count as, I mean, they're a predator. And so, sorry about the squeaky hook, it's really warm here today. We are more than halfway now though, so doing well. Don't know if that was for me or for you. My first day filming back in the new year. We need a little vocal encouragement, I think. He just perches so cutely on top of his mama's head. Look at this. You're adorable. You both are. Lost count there for a second. Okay, so in row 28, we are going to form his little paws. That's funny if you know that I just took a short break, so I paused already. Untangle that. And we'll give this a little spin. Been doing that fairly regularly because it annoys me. Oh, wait. Start that row again. Just making sure I'm grabbing the correct strand because my yarn ball kind of exploded halfway through that. Party too hard on New Year's. Now there's yarn vomit everywhere.